so national reporters only get 4 slots. She then undercuts her own vote. That's not a knock to them all, but proof that the current process is flawed. She opened this up, and this tells me she was really unprepared to even do this, which just makes it even more shocking as to why she posted it. So we started talking about it a little bit earlier today when I was with Zach. This whole Haley Sawyer situation with the AP poll, because the AP poll has a ton of issues, and we'll dig into them. And I'm trying not to be too long with this one, just because you guys know just about some of the issues. But this Haley Sawyer situation kind of came out of nowhere. It started with the college football Reddit posting the all AP top 25 ballot, right? And it's been public every week for a little while now, but a lot of times people don't really dig into it, or it doesn't get posted by a big account, and people don't want to sort it out and lay it out like this. And what it does is on the ballot, I'll click on it. On the ballot, you get to see where every voter is from, or at least the schools are associated with. Some writers are associated with multiple schools. We got Blair Kirchhoff, great name, Kansas and Missouri. We've got Matt Marshall, UCF and Florida State. Brennan Green, Oregon and Oregon State. I would hope if I ever got an AP poll, it would have Akron and Ohio State. Shout out Akron. But you see it even down here, David Jabowski, I believe it is Ohio State and Dayton down there. So that's part of, I guess, the poll. And I don't know if it's always like that, but I know that they just like to put affiliate media because it doesn't mean nothing. It means something. And for the most part, the AP poll, it's just funky because it's a human nature thing rather than an actual poll that should carry weight. It's easy to say it doesn't carry any weight, but when you look and look at top 5 wins and when you see those names up there, it naturally has some human element to it, and it makes the win look more impressive. There's a number next to their name naturally. There's kind of how it is, no matter what. And so this poll came out, and one of the things that blew up was USF Bull 6'9", which hilarious. Shout out 6. They whatever. Quote tweeted it and said, "Haley Sawyer, please explain to me how the Gators moved up 2 spots to number 14 in your ballot, while USF, who just beat them in the swamp, remains unranked." That's an oh fuck moment, right? Because I can tell you what happened. The AP poll thing is so much of an issue because the poll comes out Sunday at 2:00. And because it comes out Sunday at 2:00, and a lot of the people who voted in are beat writers or affiliate media, a lot of times they're credentialed at their games or whatever affiliation they have. And then they spend all day there. Now, Buck Huddle did a really good video. I encourage everyone to go watch it. I'm not going to watch it on stream, but it was kind of behind the scenes of the Ohio State-Texas game. And they got in at 6 a.m., and the beat didn't leave till 6 p.m. And on the way out, he said, hey, now I'm off to go edit a shit ton of pictures, right? And so you're probably done with your work day around 9, 10 o'clock if you're as hard of a worker as I think you are. And when that happens, there's no time for you to watch any other ball. And so a lot of times, the big issue that beat writers have, and the more you listen to beat writers comparatively to the more you watch college football, you'll notice that a lot of beat writers don't get to watch a ton of college football, and so they'll miss certain things with other schools. And I ran into this a couple times early on, kind of on the come up, where I was confused when I heard Ohio State beat writers. All right, example. I heard an Ohio State beat writer years ago say that Malachi Starks was going to guard Emeka or Marv one-on-one during the Ohio State-Georgia game. And for me, it's that's a safety. I can almost guarantee he's not going to be on one of the 2 one-on-one outside the lineup as a corner. And in some of the previews, he kept getting talked about as a corner. And I think maybe because he had some cornerback PFF grade, but in reality, he was a safety, the same way Caleb Downs lined up at corner and, all over the place more recently. And then I kind of sunk in for me. It's well, I never covered Ohio State. There were times where I would cover certain sports, and I didn't get to watch the rest of the league because I was so tied up in the one. And where I really thought about it was in baseball. In baseball, there's this thing where people don't watch a ton of other teams other than the team that they're covering. And what ends up happening is you learn about these other teams from just the sheer volume of games that your team plays against them naturally. And so in baseball, you can get away with not watching a lot of other teams. But in football, it can come back to haunt you. And I think that's legitimately what happened to Haley. And I think likely Haley just flew through a ballot and didn't double check scores and just figured, Florida would win that game and threw them up there. And she made a mistake by putting them up there and got caught out for it. Now, this ended up getting 2.8 million views, causing an absolute shitstorm. I'm sure everybody knows, like an absolute shitstorm. And then this happened. And this video
This is,
was
I wake up early.
this video that she posted was a bigger mistake than her initial ballot. And I will kind of try to break down the best I can why, but most of you probably already know.
But as far as what my votes are and what my process is, I wake up early in the morning after covering a game late in the night before. Don't want to go too much into my progress or pro.
So that's a fuck up there. She said it twice in the first 12 seconds, right? She said it twice. Here we go.
But as far as what my votes are and what my process is, I wake up early.
Okay, so I guess we started with what my process is. That's fine. So human language, frustrating. So one of the things that I struggled with as a radio guy was when I didn't fully prep a show because I was being lazy. I thought I could just like talk well enough to talk my way through it. And like I kind of do that here sometimes, but here it's like I'm working through it together. In radio, I would get called out by my bosses for this. And it would be really, really polite, but it would be like you would start your thought and tell us where your thought was going. And then the point you made at the end of the thought didn't have anything to do with the initial thought you told us you were driving to. And for me in my head, the example is it's like if I get my siblings in the car and I say, we're going to get ice cream, and then we drive and end up at a park and there's no ice cream stand. So she opened this up, and this tells me she was really unprepared to even do this, which just makes it even more shocking as like to why she posted it. And I'll kind of break down what I'm trying to say here in a
But
sec.
as far as what my votes are and what my process is, I wake up early.
So what my process is, and then the next line is I wake up early. So she's getting on the highway of I'm about to tell you what my process is, and when I get there, you're gonna know why I voted Florida where I did and why I didn't rank USF. And the issue is that we know, or we should know, or I think I know, that she made a mistake, but she's going to try to talk her way out of it and lie, but she didn't prepare a good enough lie. So she started with my process, and then I wake up early, and then she's going to go to, well, I don't want to go too much into my process. So she did the thing where she's going to tell you, hey, we're going to get ice cream, and then we drive, and we end up at the park.
Early in the morning after covering a game late in the night before. Don't want to go too much into my progress or process or.
I'm going to tell you about my process. I wake up early, which is then basically an excuse. Feel bad for me. And then the next line is, I'm not going to tell you about my process. This whole thing was a disaster, and she should have never posted this.
Logic, but I will say I appreciate everybody's interaction on social.
I'm going to tell you about my process. I'm going to give you an excuse. I'm then going to say, never mind about the process. But thank you for having a discussion about what you think my progress is, maybe?
Social media and all of your feedback. You know, there's tons of people that vote on the AP.
So again, we've gotten this like fake little driving thing, and then we've gotten this, which I thought was really alarming and I think frustrating. She then undercuts her own vote by saying her vote doesn't matter. And now to like the hardcore college football fans, like the AP poll doesn't matter. But to a lot of fans and honestly just natural the human experience, like in terms of how we view teams, there is some inherent bias just tied to the AP poll ranking.
Poll and like it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, like no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't probably matter in the end, but I'm glad that people are having a really good time with it. But as far as what my votes are and what my process is, I wake up early in the morning after covering a game late in the night before. Don't want to go.
It looped over. I was just listening. I was just mesmerized. I was mesmerized. She got a really cool apartment. So this is my process. I messed up. I'm not going to admit that I messed up, but I am going to say I hear people calling me an idiot, but at the end of the day, my vote doesn't actually matter, so everybody can let it go. It's a horrible response, and it resulted in her deleting her Twitter. And I think the AP ballot itself was a mistake. The reply was even more of a mistake. And what it's going to do, though, moving forward is I think that everybody's going to be super tightened up on their AP ballot because they've seen kind of the claws are out. And now that this got done, and this was a viral moment, there's now going to be a trend and it's going to be sensationalizing people who are inconsistent or just straight moronic with their votes. So while this is super unfortunate for her and definitely hurts women in media, I think, sports media especially, even though I think they do a really great job, and some of my favorites across sports, shout out Cameron Justice, are like that, this is going to end up, I guess, improving the quality of AP poll voters off the backs of hate. But the additional thing, off the backs of embarrassment, which is tied to hate, but the additional thing is there's actually no way for these AP voters to even evaluate things. Like not the NFL, the NCAA playoff committee, they get days, and they're not beat writers. So they get all day Saturday to watch games, all day Sunday to watch games, and I believe all day Monday to watch games, right? What day of the week do college football playoff rankings come out? Okay. And this is just from last year. Okay, chill out. Oh, click on the wrong thing. When do the fifth college football playoff rankings come out? What you need to know. We approach Saturday, week 13 of the college football season. Teams are reminded by last week's fourth set of college football playoff rankings that every remaining game is not just crucial, but a make or break situation for keeping the playoff dreams alive. In the fourth of the six college football rankings, Alabama and Ole Miss dropped out of the top 12 seeds for the first time. Blah blah blah. The fifth college football rankings will be the final decision of a team's standings ahead of selection day. It'll be crucial as the season concludes. Will be released on Tuesday, December 3rd. So the AP poll comes out on Sunday at 2. So you got to assume that votes have to be in by 10 a.m. If a team plays the night before, there's no way for anybody to even watch enough football to even conclude an opinion. I still think Tuesday's a little tight. Wednesday might be a better day. But these are all people that get all day Saturday because they're not working at a game. They get all day Sunday, all day Monday, and then I believe the rankings come out Tuesday night. So you get most of the day Tuesday for deliberation. That's far more time, and you're not like set up for like complete failure at all. AP voter college football requirements. Let's look. Ooh, we have an article now. AP voter issues a response as backlash over college football playoff rankings intensifies. We already saw this. I want a video about Oh, this is good. It's from Fansided. Winston Wilcox. One of the hardest jobs for college reporters falls on a Sunday morning when they are tasked with ranking the top 25 teams in the country for 4 months straight after a weekend of college football. Sure, all the hype for the AP Top 25 poll dies down after the college football playoff committee releases their rankings, but it's a task every beat writer selected to vote takes some pride in to some extent. How exactly are the voters chosen and the process is the most efficient? After all, the voters themselves are knowledgeable, but typically beat writers and not always national reporters. The beat writers have a grasp on their specific team. The national reporters know more about a lot of teams, generally speaking. I think there's a level of importance to if you are a beat writer to be really well versed. I mean, I'm not a beat writer, but I consider myself pretty well versed across college football. Now, what team do I know about the most? Ohio State, but I also am pretty familiar with Oregon's roster, with Miami's roster, with Michigan's roster, and kind of what they've got going on. Also, Georgia and Texas, like I'm generally familiar. Um, how do you become a voter? How do you become an AP voter in each week's poll? The AP voters each week are members of the Associated Press, selected by the AP before the season starts. The voters consist of national reporters as well as specific beat writers from teams. While AP employees can't vote, they can help choose who the voters are. The pool of voters consists of one voter per state that has an FBS team and increases with the number of FBS teams with the 4 slots available for national reporters. So national reporters only get 4 slots. Okay. The controversy started because of an platform account called out one of the voters for rank. It's still funny. It's USF Bull 69. For ranking Florida 2 spots higher than its week 2 ranking despite losing to an unranked team. The Gators were ultimately booted from the top 25, which brings up the double-edged sword with the AP vote. Obviously, the individual vote didn't directly impact Florida's standing, but could have. The vote should be taken seriously, and while it's hard to keep up with every single college football game, that's the thing. It's like you're asking these voters to keep up with every college football team while acknowledging that it's really not possible for them. Like, I don't care if you're the best beat writer in the world. There's no way for you to watch enough football. In fact, I don't finish watching all the football I need for the Menace show until about Wednesday, Thursday is when I've wrapped up everything. And then I start intensively previewing the next week. Now, for me at least, because I watch so much football, the previews kind of fall in line with themselves. But there's no way a beat writer can get all this done for the Sunday poll. It's impossible. I don't care what anybody says. It's not possible. The biggest problem with the current format that AP uses is there's limited slot for national voters while beat writers take up the majority of the spots. 100% agree. 100% agree. That's good they get some of the most knowledgeable people to vote, but they're typically only knowledgeable about the teams they cover and maybe the teams within the respective team's conference. Oof. And even if they're knowledgeable about some other teams that could get into the poll, they usually don't have a lot of time to actually do research. Bingo. About the other games, valuing performances, wins and losses, etc. I think about a beat writer that covers Michigan, for example. They're filling in all their content well into Sunday morning and then have to get up in a few hours and vote in the ballot before it closes. There's no way they had time to actually properly evaluate. 100% agree. And this is Nathan Carroll. Bingo. Using beat writers for the AP poll makes no sense. These guys and gals work their tails off covering one specific team. And on a game day, they often don't watch any football except the school they're covering. It's not a knock on those individuals. They're great people doing a great job, but they're often not watching enough college football to even get a holistic view of college football. I would love to see a poll made up of national analysts who can watch 10-plus games per week. Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. That's not a knock to them all, but proof that the current process is flawed. I think the easiest fix is to have more national voters. 100% agree. They should be outweighing beat writers as they're spending most of their weekend watching every game they can fit on one screen. This takes the pressure off of beat writers to get everything right, especially when it's more of a voluntary vote at that. Now, while I will blame her for being pretty lazy and like not working through making sure that she at least sees who wins, I can definitely acknowledge that the flaw in the AP poll and the voting system and the voting makeup is kind of what allowed this to happen. And for her and for like women in the sports, unfortunately, like this is like going to be a lot of shit, and she's probably not going to be, an AP voter next year. I don't know if she'll even want to be an AP voter next year. But for the totality of this year, I expect people to be on their P's and Q's because they want to avoid some shit like this happening again. The AP poll just generally has a massive problem in its overall makeup. And like fixing it might be as easy as giving AP votes out to national guys or guys that at least cover lots of teams. Like I think Zach is warranted of an AP poll and an AP vote. 100%. Doesn't work for the AP and honestly reviews as much film as anybody. I think Landon Tangwall deserves an AP vote. watches a ton of football on not just Penn State, but a bunch of schools. I think the guys that cover 3 deserve it. I think the guys who cover nationally deserve that. And I think the more you had doing that, you would get some biases, but you get biases naturally with the beat writers. But overall, I think you'd get a much clearer picture, especially because while people claim it may not be important, the AP vote at least has some weight in the sport. But anyway, if you like this kind of video, I'll have more breakdowns, I think, each and every day for the rest of the week. Been a busy week. Was at the Guards game today. But I appreciate everybody for kind of tapping in and subbing and liking. But I'm Chris Drew, and I will holler at you guys another time.